Today, we discuss censorship in the United States. Censorship is not just the ban or deletion of a word, article, or event. When taken at a national level, it means much more than just the mere bleeping of words or expunging of an event. Censorship in the United States represents the complete blinding of Americans to the events occurring around the world, as well as those happening in our very own backyard. Censorship here in the U.S. has meant that we have continually marched off to war over lies and exaggerations. We have continually been fed fiction and fable, and we have continually been banned from hearing the facts. Beginning with the advent of yellow journalism in 1898, the media in the U.S. slowly moved from reporting events occurring around the world to creating fantasies out of these very events. Yellow journalism is the reference to journalism in America that features scandal-mongering, sensationalism, jingoism, or other unethical or unprofessional practices by news media or organizations or individual journalists. The term originated during the circulation battles between Joseph Pulitzer's New York World and William Randolph Hearst's New York Journal over the sinking of the Maine, a 6,682-ton second-class pre-dreadnought battleship originally designed as Armored Cruiser No. 1. The Maine suffered a boiler room explosion that overwhelmed the sailors on board and eventually sank her. This sinking on February 15, 1898, became the linchpin for the Spanish-American War through the lies represented in New York newspapers, and also popularized the phrase, "Remember the Maine." Beginning with Hearst's sensational misrepresentations of the events, and reverberating with Pulitzer's call for retribution against an innocent Spain, yellow journalism and its lies about phony events swept the nation into a war frenzy that sent us headlong into the Spanish-American War. But the freedom of speech goes beyond the banning of a few dicey words that can be easily substituted. The freedom of speech also protects the individual and his or her opinion. Freedom of speech is supposed to grant us the right to speak our mind without the fear of reprisal. An anti-war demonstration in Akron that drew 200
people in October 2006
also drew the attention of military officials investigating the protesters for, quote, potential terrorist activity. The release of documents reported Friday by the New York Times revealed the federal government had maintained records on the Stop the War Now rally held in Akron on March 19, 2005, as well as dozens of other demonstrations held across the country. The Akron event was sponsored by the Northeast Ohio American Friends Service Committee, a Quaker group that bills itself as nonviolent and peaceful. It's chilling, intimidating, and ridiculous knowing that the government is looking at events like ours, a public event advertised as being legal and nonviolent, and deems it a potential terrorist event, said Greg Coleridge, director of the group's Economic Justice Program. We were doing nothing more than expressing our Bill of Rights, rights to organize and speak freely, and for that, the government considers it threatening. What a waste of resources, human and financial. The censorship in America has been going on for so long that most Americans find themselves quite content making decisions knowingly based on lies. As long as it allows them to pursue their egoistic, materialistic dreams, they could care less how many hundreds of thousands of foreigners are killed. After all, it's in the name of keeping America strong. Over 50 years ago, nearly 40 different companies provided the U.S. with news and views. Today, thanks to deregulation, only 5 companies own 95% of the U.S. market. They will continually feed us lies and misconceptions as long as we allow them to control our lives. As long as Americans are content to base their political decisions based on the lies that these few companies wish to present to us, we will be responsible for the hegemonic destruction around the world, as well as the generation of terrorists as a result of our militaristic means. We are more responsible for the existence of terrorists around the world than any other terrorist organization. Our ignorance, spawned by the censorship imposed by our government, has created more terrorists than OBL could have ever imagined. Only a complete renunciation of the same could possibly reverse this reality. I ask all Americans to renounce our government's bellicose war. I ask all Americans to come to their senses and realize that we have been lied to, not for a few years, not since 9/11, but for the past 120 years at least. Our government has manipulated our thoughts and our opinions through the denial of truth and through the manipulation of the facts. I ask that all Americans rise up and take back that which our founding fathers wished for this nation. Let's reason by truth, not treason. Let's demand the facts, not the fiction. Let's call for moderation, not militarization. Now is the time to break free from the yoke of ignorance that our masters have chained us with. Let's end censorship and adopt a new resolve to understand one another in a clarion call to reason and friendship. An international call to brotherhood and understanding for the Toig effect. This is Toig.